Welcome everyone to week 7. In week 7 you're going to be reading chapter 13. 13 is going to be covering antitrust laws. And you're going to be having the discussion forum, the quiz, and the reaction paper. Now for this week, in the discussion, make sure to have your initial post by Wednesday, which includes an APA formatted in-text citation and reference. Your quiz is going to be covering 20 multiple choice questions. And here's your reaction paper. Now your reaction paper is going to be dealing with an article analysis. So in the reaction paper, you're going to be focusing on finding an article that's relevant. And when you look at that article, you're going to summarize the article in one paragraph, evaluate it in paragraphs 2 and 3, and provide your recommendations or conclusions in paragraph 4 and 5. The key to the paper is APA formatting. Now, with APA formatting, let me get my document here for you so you can review it. Here's what I'm looking for. And I'm going to have this up for you. I'm looking for you to have this as your title page. Your running header in all caps. Running head. And then the title in all caps. The title of the paper, the name, and the school right here. So you're just going to replace your stuff with your information. Here's the title of the paper again. You're going to have the introduction. Here's your information. Here's an in-text citation, which I'm looking for. You got your conclusion. Here's your references right here. And I also include an easy way to do in-text citations and references. And when I do this, I have some screenshots right here that will allow you to understand these in-text citations and references. And basically, you'll just be copying and pasting them from the website I gave you. And the website I gave you is Noodle Tools. And when you go to Noodle Tools Express, you'll be able to create that information for you. And I think it'll really make it become a much better process for you. Now, for the quiz this week, logged me out here. Hold on about that. For the quiz this week, let me go over some of the questions that you might see. Now, we're going to be looking at the Sherman Antitrust Act. And you're going to be looking at which one of them strengthens the Sherman Antitrust Act. Question 2 is going to be looking at the different types of mergers that don't relate to one another. Question 3, that's going to be looking at a board of trustees. And when you put in assets in the custody of the board of trustees, what is that called? Question 4 is going to be looking at the number of sales that you have to conduct. 5 is going to be looking at the acquiring of a firm and looking at competition. And what act looks at that? When was the Sherman Antitrust Act passed? What was the first Antitrust Act? The Clayton Act of 1914, what was that? A merger between two manufacturers that are the same. FTC, what is that? Question 11 looks at price discrimination. In which act outlawed price discrimination? The Sherman Antitrust Act. What was the weakness of the Sherman Antitrust Act? Now, AT&T required customers to both rent to get phone service. What was that called? When to do a project, you have to rent. 14 is looking at large building materials companies, and they agree that they will have to submit bids. And they're going to have to be lower than the agreed upon amount. 15 is looking at a retailer that cannot sell Campbell's soup if it also sells other brands. What is this looking at? Think of a grocery store. Question 16 is looking at one of these various acts. Question 17 is looking at Congress that declared tying contracts, exclusive dealing, and price discrimination. What did they make illegal? Which act? Question 18 is looking at the practice of firms temporarily reducing prices in order to eliminate competition. What is that called? Question 19 is looking at the federal agency in 1934 that regulated telephone and broadcasting. And what was the main focus of the Sherman Antitrust Act? So those are some of the questions that you're going to see on your quiz. Make sure to focus on those questions, your paper, and if you need any help with your paper, please let me know, as I'm more than willing to review your paper and assist with any questions that you might have, or I can pre-grade your paper as well. But I look forward to your effort.